Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome everybody to Monday. It's Monday, and it is the 24th. It's Memorial Week, so
yeah,
everybody's going to be off playing by the end of the week, except for some of us. And this is Life Between Lives. I want to remind everybody that Regan Forston is here. He's a hypnotherapist, and he does LBL work is the cool short name for it.
That's
Lives. And Natasha Venter, who is a psychic medium and works really well with Regan. They're really good together. And up above there is Kayla, and Kayla May is the associate producer of this here radio program or this podcast, and she and Regan had the opportunity to talk last week, which is why we are talking today a little bit with her. And I just wanted to introduce her to you guys and to the public. So there.
Yeah. Welcome on board, Kayla.
I'm sorry, what?
I said welcome on board.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And I'll tell you, the video feed is working really well. I'm really impressed with the video feed that we get from this particular program. So, Natasha, how are you? We had a real big day yesterday. Do you get tired after we do 3 hours on the radio? It wipes me out.
No.
Really?
No. Actually, when I do intuitive work, it revs me up. It's my battery. So that means that I'm doing the thing that my soul loves to do. And like I can do when I do my sessions through a fair, let's say an intuitive fair, that I can start at 9 o'clock, be done at 5, and people say, you look just as good as you do when you started. And I go, yeah, because they're my battery. I'm not. So I let things just flow through me, and it's my battery. So it charged me the whole day. I actually got a lot done around the house.
Yeah. I remember when I was in the hospital in Hawaii, when I was there for a month and almost died. And I'd be sitting there kind of lethargic and like just in another zone. And then in the middle of the night, for some reason, the nurse would be in there. She knew the kind of work I did. And we start talking about God. We'd start talking about things. All of a sudden, it's like I'm not even sick. It's just the weirdest thing. And then she leaves the room, and I go back to being this sick person going through this experience. But there's something about when you talk about deeper things, that I think enlivens all of us, because it comes from something within, this excitement or this desire to get back home, this desire to connect with God. So yeah, I'm the same as you. I could talk, go forever and do that. But like I had a 5.5 hour session this week, a really, really good Life Between Lives session. And I was realizing through the whole thing, I mean, it seems like, I don't know, an hour to me. The time just seems to not exist, when I'm doing this kind of work. But then afterwards, like about 20 minutes afterwards, when I sat down, I just felt like I could sleep, forever, but the minute you start talking about anything having to do with God or something, there's some sort of energy, like the spirit just gets in you, and you just, you become alive. So that's a nice feeling.
Well, and that's what I consider truth. It's the truth. And when you're talking about something that creates love and goodness, it's what is the truth, which is it's a vitality. And so when you work with that, it brings vitality. And that's what I do. Now, like if I'm doing a fair down in Kent, which is about 2 hours away from my house, that, by the time about an hour and a half into my drive, I'm like going, okay, yeah, I've been up since 7:30 in the morning, and now it's 8 o'clock at night, and I can tell my battery is going down. But, there's it's that recharging though. It's that moving forward things. And when
Yeah.
our soul is speaking the truth, which is love, you know, even if it's working through the shadow work and we're working through getting better, working through ourselves doing better, you know, there is an energy to that. Even though sometimes we feel like a wrung out wash rag afterwards, you know, but there's that movement going forward.
Yeah, I think too, that's the benefit of people, no matter what religion they are, but when they gather together, like the Christians who go to church every Sunday or something, there's something there that it's subconscious a bit, but that energy and everything they feel there kind of gives them energy to get through the next week. You know, like they go and they you know, they're thinking about their higher selves. They're with other people that are all there for the same reason, to try to get closer to God in some way. And they always, I think when they walk out, a lot of people aren't really conscious of it, but they're kind of stepping a little lighter when they leave a service, you know, and it helps them, you know, that energy gets them through the week.
Except I had a friend one time who said, I asked him why he went to church every Sunday, and he said, "Oh man, I'm covering my bases."
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's true too. Well, you know,
Don't want to go to hell, so I'm just covering my bases to make sure that I'm okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because I think everybody has something intuitively. They know there's a, you know, I think if you ask most people in the world, do they believe in a higher power? Majority of them are going to say yes. But from there, they're just not sure about the rest of it. You know, they just have that inner knowing.
And,
you know?
and so what I would like to do here, because Kayla, who's being very quiet and very nice up there,
I'm listening.
she had an experience about a year ago where she felt like she needed, well, first of all, and Natasha, you will understand this. Her father died about a year ago.
Oh boy, sorry, Kayla.
And
Thank you.
when that happened, she felt the need to make a cataclysmic change in her life. Can you talk to her a little bit about that?
Okay, so my love goes to you.
Thank you.
It's not an easy dance. I can tell you, and you know, I'm working on not talking about myself so much. According that, but I feel like this calls for it, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with this, that I have always been, people have told me I should have been a counselor my whole life. My father died when I was ready to give birth to my first child. 3 years later, my mom died of Lou Gehrig's disease. 3 weeks after, or about a year after my second child was born. Grief wakes us up in a way, and it shakes us up. It's almost like tipping over the box of our life and saying, you got to deal with the crumb on the bottom that you wanted to cover up. But it is that if we allow it, it gives us that moment of saying, this is the truth you need to walk into. And, you know, I'm sorry you had to go through the grief process to get this message. But yet, at the same time, when we allow grief to do the work that it's supposed to, for me, a year after my mom passed away, I was in Hawaii doing Doreen Virtue's angel therapy practitioner course, and then 6 months later in her mediumship course. And then I started doing this for real. I've always been intuitive. I remember being born, yet at the same time, though, I was always shy and quiet. Can you believe me, shy and quiet?
I think you're fibbing.
My husband even said after my mom passed, you're not the same woman I married, because I flipped the coin over so much from being shy and quiet to being who I am today. And that I allowed grief to kick my butt to get me moving. You know, and with that, and grief wakes us up to be our true self, which is a true spiritual walk.
A big one.
It is a true spiritual walk, and it's not one that's a straight line either. It's one that we have to weave our own way through, because it's the truth finder. You know, and whatever falls into that love category, true love, not the, you know, you shouldn't love that person because he's like this. It's that love because ... And there's nothing behind that, because it doesn't matter. We should just love. You know, so good job listening.
Yeah, when we were when I was on the other side about 2 months ago, and we were asking about COVID, and that's one of the things that the wise beings on the other side were saying, that one of the benefits of COVID is now in the world, there's so many more people that have opened up to their higher selves, to a bigger purpose. So the good part of that is, with everybody going through grief and all the people that have lost, people have begun to really think about their mortality, and a lot of people like the churches, I think for the next year or two, till people forget their lessons sometimes, but the churches be pretty full, people are praying and meditating like never before, so it's kind of, something that we had to go through to wake everybody up, and there's people that passed away that are over there, they're just fine. They're just another place in another room. That's not bothering them at all. It's just us survivors that are left here to have to think about our own, mortality and our spirituality and so forth. So I think it's been a good one. I bet that the churches now, when they have the altar calls, there's going to be, the Christian church will be a lot more people going forward than before COVID,
And now, Regan, you were part of the manipulation of the other side. Do you understand what that means in Kayla's case?
What?
Remember last Monday, you said that you and her talked about doing a reading, and so she was following up on that and talked to a gal named Lisa, who's not affiliated with the show in any way, but is a good friend. I don't know how that happened. And then Lisa sent the thing to me saying she's looking for Regan's information.
Oh, yeah.
I started to find the Regan's information for her, and then I got the message that I needed to ask her a few questions to see if it would be appropriate for us to work together and for her to join my independence report. So you, sir, are partially responsible for that.
Okay. Well, it's funny. It's the ripple effect of everything we do. People don't realize that just the slightest thing has like the butterfly effect. It's just like it's amazing. Like we have a family member that made some wrong choices a few years ago when he was a teenager, and we're still feeling the ripple effects from those today. It's just, we were looking at that and just seeing how, if that young person had made a little better choices, there's so much that this family wouldn't have had to go through. So it's, one wrong thing and it just affects, this like domino effect all the way as far as you can see. But the good thing is too, like, it's like, Natasha, don't you feel this too? And I do, like with my clients, even in my regular therapy practice, if we could just help that one person, they become, like, let's say, a better wife, a better mother, and so they're better mothers, so their children grow up a little healthier, so they're a little healthier. So it could go generations, just by helping one person here, it could go generations down, the effect of them just getting healthy.
Exactly.
That's why Spirit says, just work with one person at a time, so.
Natasha had 3 people crying yesterday.
Are you doing readings for them on your show?
Yeah.
I'm kind of good at that.
But it was one at a time, and each in turn felt eternally touched by what she said, including Eric, who's on the Wednesday show. I made him be a guinea pig, and he was like, "Man, she's good." So
yeah,
it worked out really well. But you're right, Regan. It is just one person at a time. That's all you can affect.
Yeah, that's all, and that's all we can do. Because some people think, when I have them go to the other side and they find out what their goal was or their mission in this life, and more times than not, it's something very, very simple. Very simple. Because some people think that their mission has to be like a Gandhi or Martin Luther King or something like that. They have to change the world, but the world has changed just, one person at a time doing one thing. Well, just having the Christian background, just look what Jesus did. He started with 12 guys, and now look how many followers are around the world. It's that ripple effect of, when you have something good to say that people know is what they need to learn, or do. So, yeah. And you never, I remember even my, when I went through a divorce with my second wife, we tried to do it as amicably as possible. We just knew that our time was up, and my 4 stepdaughters, all of them at one point or another said that was actually a really great learning experience for them on how to handle relationships themselves, so that they were able to, when they had to do split ups or something, their time with that person was up, they needed to move on, they were able to do it in a really good way, without all of the bitter and anger and everything. So yeah, you never know when you're being, when your good behavior is actually affecting somebody in a good way.
You're such a special, nice guy. I can't believe anybody wanted to work.
Oh, I have to tell you, I had a regular client today. I had the most fun Zoom session with her today. This is a client of mine that's in the military that was raped, and she decided to take the guy to trial. And oh my God, it was, he ended up getting off on lesser charges and stuff, which kind of angered her. But he did get dishonorably discharged, which is good. And he does have to spend a little time behind bars, a little bit, but not like what she had hoped. But she's learning to let go of that. But what's really helped her is she got a dog, a little puppy. And I can't tell you, the little puppy, we were doing the session, the puppy was in her lap, biting on her arm, it was like having a little kid, and we're trying to do this serious session, and this kid just wants to play this little puppy, and it was so adorable. And I could see how her being able to give this dog love, and the love she was getting from him was really helping her, to with her emotions and things. So I'm getting ready. I'm going to write a letter for her to have her support dog, so she can have the dog with her at other places for support sometimes. So it's just beautiful, the impact that pets have on people. We could do a whole show on that sometime, because that's, so many people are so close to their pets, and you can't, someone who loves their pet, if someone comes up to them and says, oh, your pet's just a dog, has no soul, it's just nothing, they won't believe you, because you just know that there's some God energy in that little puppy, in that dog, so,
they heal us just as much as we heal them.
Yes, exactly.
So Kayla, you have a rare opportunity here to talk to these 2 highly educated individuals who do some great work at what they do. Do you have any questions for them?
Anything and everything, really. I mean,
oh no, don't get them started. We'll be here till tomorrow.
Well, that's okay. I've got all.
I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to keep it short.
Regan, when you specifically get into taking someone into being hypnotized, what do they experience particularly?
Well, here's what's surprising, that hypnosis is so easy, and it's such a natural thing that sometimes people think that they're not even in hypnosis because it just seems too natural. Okay. Somehow in their minds, they make up like it's going to be some supernatural kind of thing where they're just going to fall asleep and then wake up a changed person or something and not remember everything that's happening. But actually what happens is when a person gets really, really relaxed, and that's all I do is I tell people, if they know how to wake up and go to sleep, they could be hypnotized, because if you looked at the brain, scientifically, if you look at their brain waves, where hypnosis is right at that point, just before you fall asleep. So what I do in this thing we do at the Newton Institute is I just get them to relax to that point to where they're just about to fall asleep, but I keep them there so they don't fall asleep. Okay. And it seems to be that God has put in all of us. I call it, I don't know if it's my invention or something else, but I just thought I call it a God switch, and it's like when they're in that thing there, this is where all the magic happens. And people just naturally, it's like so easy that, it looks like Natasha, it looks so easy when she just looks up and Archangel Michael's right there or something. It's kind of like they get in that spot where they can do that sort of thing. So it's like, it almost seems strange, but your body gets really, really relaxed, but your mind becomes super alert, So it's like, a lot of people say, yeah, I was just waking up and all of a sudden I got this idea, or they've been working on a problem trying to solve. And just as they fall asleep or wake up, they get the solution to that. And that's because at that point, your subconscious, your higher self is pretty much in tune with your physical awake self. so you have the access of more parts of you or something, to access. But yesterday when I had this session, this 5.5 hour session, afterwards, she says, well, it was weird because I was seeing all this stuff that you're talking to me, but then I would hear the siren go by on the outside and all that. I says, yeah, because your physical self is alert, but yet you're there at the other time. It's like now we're looking at 4 of us on the screen, and it's like you're going from over here to Natasha to the past life, and then back over here to me. Oh yeah, I'm here in hypnosis, and then you're going back. It's like you're just going back and forth. So you just become super aware, and it's just a natural thing, So that's the magic of it. So yeah, people think that they're afraid that in hypnosis that they won't be in control. That's why some people fight it, and sometimes we're not successful, but about 90% of the time we are. But that 10%, sometimes they feel like they're losing control of themselves when they really aren't. Like I tell people, I says, if you don't want to be in hypnosis, just open your eyes and leave. Just open your eyes and do whatever you have to do. Because you are still in total control that way. So.
Now, do you have, sorry, Kevin, do you have more of the people that choose to just sit up in the guidelines and just watch, or do you have more people go physically through the emotions and everything?
You mean like when they're in another life, are they in that body or are they just watching it? Mm-hmm. It kind of, I see people, like, for instance, I can say, look down and see what you're wearing, mm-hmm. Just to get them oriented in that body. So usually when they go to a past life, it begins to where, like, if they kind of, like, first thing I ask them, is it daytime or nighttime? So they're just starting to become aware. And I say, what's the topography? Are you in a city or whatever? And then I'll say, look down at your feet and tell me what you're wearing. And that's usually the first sign I can tell whether they're a man or a woman. And sometimes I say, well, put your hands out in front of yourself. Tell me what color your skin is, and then they look at the hands, they can tell. And all of a sudden they're going, like, I told this before, but I always get a kick out of this because it was just so funny at the time. I had a very beautiful woman, she was just gorgeous physically and spiritually. And so all of a sudden she's in this past life, and I had her put her hands out in front. She's looking at him for a second. And in hypnosis, her hands on the, in other words, she's doing it there, but she's raising her physical hands too. And all of a sudden she looks at him and she's turning them around, and she's quiet for a minute, and she goes, oh my God, I'm a dude. It was so cute, and she was a man in that lifetime, and so herself that was being hypnotized was real, the part that's aware here, it was surprising to her, but over there, she was in the body of this man and feeling the feelings and going through what she went through in that past life. The only time they sometimes want to go out of their body is like at a death scene, if the death scene is a little bit discomforting, like if they can't breathe, or if something, if they're being attacked or something physical or something's happening. But we're trained at that moment, at that second we see that in their body, then I'll say to the client, I'll say, okay, now you can choose to be in the body or you can watch it from outside. And generally they start watching it from outside, and then they'll tell you exactly what's going on. So that way, we're not causing any unneeded emotional, we don't want to re-traumatize somebody. But I have had a few, I had a case where, matter of fact, I told Natasha before, my first case was a medium from Australia. And what an amazing, I just love this guy. And he went right to a past life. He was a little girl in a past life, and he was carrying buckets of water. And I said, what are you doing with them? And he says, well, I'm taking them home to the horses. And then, so I says, okay, 1, 2, 3, I want to go home to where the horses are. And then, and this little girl, I mean, it's of course, a man in this lifetime. In that lifetime he was experiencing, he was a little girl with 2 buckets of water going back with the horses. So the little girl says, I can't. I says, why can't you go home? She says, I can't cross this road. And I says, why can't you cross the road? And she says, because the wagon that's coming down the street is going to run over and kill me. So here's my first case, and here's this, I'm talking to a little girl in this other lifetime, and I'm not about to tell her to cross the road. I mean, I'm not going to tell her to get killed, I mean, oh my God, it was so weird. But then the higher self comes out, her higher self comes out and says, no, this is something she needs to experience. So tell her to cross the road. So I got permission. So I told her, I said, cross the road. So all of a sudden I said, what's happening? And she says, I just got run over. And I said, oh my gosh. I says, okay, you can just, leave the body and look at it from above. And she says, no, I want to experience this. So I said, okay, tell me when you're done. So about 30, 40 seconds later, the male that's on the, on the couch here says, okay, I'm done. And then I said, tell me what happened. And she said, she just bled out. And I said, are you ready to now, to leave this life? And she said, no. She said, I have to stick around because the man that ran over me is totally in shock and he's just having a bad time. So how beautiful of her. She stuck around for a little while to use her energy from the other side to try to calm him down, to try to be there with him, because he had just, you could just imagine if any of us had run over a child or something, what we would feel, So that was a really beautiful thing. And then she says, okay, he's okay now. And then I said, okay, are you ready to move on? And just like that, his guide was there. He goes, oh, Merlin's here. He called him Merlin. And it was an old friend of his, and found out that he was down here, what he called black. He was in trance and he's going, Black Ops. I'm in a Black Ops mission with 8 other souls. And come to find out that he was with 8 other advanced souls, like a lot of mediums are. They've kind of gone through a lot of stuff in lives and done their work, right, Natasha? And now he was just down here to do his medium work, to try to do in whatever way he could to help people to, realize their higher selves and stuff. So anyway, long story, but that gives you kind of an idea. People can choose what they want to do, either in the body or out of the body. Yeah.
So Natasha, you also do past life readings, basically.
Yes.
What do you see? How do you know? Because like you told me that I was at the Battle of Little Bighorn, and I've known that for like ever, since I was a little boy and studied it and all that kind of stuff. But how do you know? What do you feel?
Well, from my understanding that, and to know this, that when like Regan puts somebody into a hypnosis part, I call that the mind is actually out of the way, because it's that part of us that knows what to do. Okay. And I'm just going to call it the part of us that knows what to do. Mm-hmm. And that could be the soul, the higher self, guides, whatever, the part of us that's lived through much, and we just kind of take that and put it into that category of what we need to do. And so that part of us that knows what to do just goes there. Well, for me, and I think it's the way, from my understanding, and I'm saying I think because it's just the part of me that knows what to do. And so I just kind of go, okay. That for me, now remember, I remember being born. I remember writing the contract, coming into this world, going through, my mom, and then coming out and seeing the doctor's face. So for me, going through that process has always been a quick connection. That's not been a mediumship. That's not been anybody tell me. That's a remembrance from me. I remember even my mom picking me out of the crib, and I knew I was very young because my head would pop back and then she would pick it up and then I would see her face. So I had to be a baby who couldn't even lift up my head. So I remember a lot from even into 3 years old. So for me, that part of me has a quick connection to there. Now ask me if I can find something I've lost. No. But yet find somebody's past life, find my own past life. It's just like, it's like crossing from me to the other side of the room. It's just, it's something I know. It's just a quick version of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so with that when I do that, I do sometimes, like on the radio, there's this one woman that she didn't give me enough information, and I needed to get more fine-tuned in what past life she was looking for to clear up the path, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you read, Kayla? We're going to make a guinea pig out of you today, just for fun. So you might as well get used to it. It's going to happen all the time.
Can I put this out here though and say something? What does it mean by having multiple near-death experiences? Because my grandma, tells me I'm like a cat that has 9 lives and I've already used up 7 or 8.
I live with one like that. I actually, my husband is like that. When he got sober, I saw his guide go, finally, because the angel was sitting on his shoulder trying to keep him surviving. So when you have those life experiences like that, from my understanding, that we have many exit points that we can go in our life, from very young to very old, many exit points. Some people, that's why we get illnesses, because sometimes we say 3 years in advance that, you take on too much, and then 3 years later you come up with an illness. Now, like going through with my mom, going through that, having a new baby, 4-year-old alcoholic husband, selling houses, I knew that I really needed to take care of me, because 3 years, I did not want to have colon cancer like my father or Lou Gehrig's disease like my mother, because I knew that would be an exit point for me. Okay. So we all have exit points. Now, I'm going to ask you the question, when did you truly decide to be on this planet? So there was a part of you that probably questioned being here fully.
That was probably really recently, truthfully, over the once my father passed away. I would honestly say I was, what am I? Who am I? Why am I here? I went through nursing school. I was a hairdresser, wanted to do counseling, wanted to go through criminal, investigating and all that kind of in here. I'm not doing none of it.
I understand that, though, because of the fact that many times that, okay, and I'm doing this in the astrology part, that there is some of us that are meant to be starters, not finishers. Okay. My dear, you're one of them.
So you finisher?
Yeah. And please don't punish yourself. So starting yourself up, getting things started, it's okay, because what you do is when you start things up, you help others get ideas to start things up. Okay. So when you're doing that, you're stirring the pot. I'm going to call it stirring the pot.
I like that.
You're stirring the pot of getting people to wake up to new ideas. Okay.
Open your horizons.
Yes, exactly. So with that, the thing that I would like you to do, though, is when you get that first instinct to jump, take a breath and decide if it's truly the time to jump. Jump into it, jump out of it, whatever you're going to do. Also, give yourself a time. Okay? So if you feel that that spark to jump, tell yourself, okay, I'm going to give 3 weeks notice. I'm going to give 6 weeks notice. Whatever that notice is, so that you can move forward, because it's not necessarily that it's that easing out, so that, okay, I'm going to say this because many people do not appreciate starters. And so for the ripple effect of you starting and finishing will be easier on those around you, because you're going to allow that energy to start shifting. Okay. There's also experiences that if you look back and on that trail that you have done, what have you learned about yourself? Quite a bit.
In the butt.
And also, like me, I used to be a hairstylist. I learned a part of me being creative. Okay. You doing the nursing, what did you learn? You learned how to take care of, to have empathy, sympathy, right? You learned how to be involved with others in groups, right? To deal with people you didn't always want to deal with. Hair's the same way. You know what I mean? So with that you have learned to navigate with other people better, right? Okay. So look at what these tools came along the path for you. Okay, because the part of you that needs to know what to do needs many tools to be able to navigate through what you're going through. Okay, and a lot of times our life sets us up for grief. Because many times when we have life happening, especially when you have a family, you have to have the tool to move forward. And when you know that you can go from one thing to another, to another, to another, you're able to survive the moment when your feet aren't on the ground.
That was deep. Thank you.
This is who I am.
Natasha, that was really, really good.
Yeah, I felt it. Like a Cupid ball through my chest. I did.
It's because it's that moment when we're in that vulnerability of change that we become more who we are.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that again. The vulnerability that we are with ourselves in the moment of change makes us who we are.
When I was doing that session today with my client that had the rape issues, and I was trying to give her the higher perspective, I said, okay, because you experienced this thing, which has been an awful thing that you had to experience, but I said, if you look at yourself before that happened and now, I said, do you see yourself as that you've grown more in compassion and kindness, integrity, whatever? And she thought for a minute, she goes, wow, yeah, I am so much farther ahead as a human being than before I had that awful experience. Because it's like we're talking about when we had sometimes these experiences are just to shake us up to move to a higher level, you know. And when you look at you look at the upside, not ever excusing what, you know, some people say, oh, you're not, what do you mean? You're making light of what happened? Is no, not at all. But just saying through that trial and that tribulation that she went through, she's become a person, and she would not want to go back to who she was even before, because she's so much wiser now about the world, about life. And she knows she's having to learn, she knows she needs to forgive eventually. And that's difficult, but she kind of knows that by forgiving at some point later in her life, she'll be a better person for that, you know. What was interesting too, is I had a client a couple of weeks ago. First, you know, people don't realize with hypnosis, it's just like so many things are possible. And even people that don't believe in past lives, I say, well, let's just do something simple here. I said, I can get you to a certain level and take you back to your earliest childhood memory, which would be kind of fun. And then I'm going to have you in this state, I'm going to have you get younger and smaller and younger and smaller. You know, you're 1 month old, you're 5 months old, you've just been born, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, and you're in your mother's womb just before you were born. And I would say about 80% of my clients, all of a sudden they experience being in their mother's womb. Well, this time she was in the womb with a twin. Very interesting. I've never had twins in the womb. And so people don't realize that people are in their full consciousness before they're born, you know, because they just come from heaven. They're not, the wall of forgetfulness hasn't been pulled yet. They're like at the starting gate of their mission, of their journey, you know. And so I get so much information when in the womb. And I said, why are, you know, because in this life, her and her sister love each other, but they're butting heads all the time, you know. They don't hate each other, but they always argue. They always boom, boom. But I said, what's the main reason that you and your sister are coming here? And it ended up being because the mother who they chose needed some help with unlocking the best parts of herself. And they were going to teach their mother patience and kindness, you know, because she was kind of spiritually stuck. And I thought that was neat. They just like a double team, you know, they were double teaming their mom so that they could help her wake up. But when people come out of that, they go, Regan, that was just the weirdest thing. It's like I could feel myself in the womb and I could barely move my arms. I was so tight in there. I couldn't just feel it, you know, but they could feel their mother's heartbeat. They knew what the mother was thinking. And they really, some people really bonded with their mother in this experience more than they have in life, because they could feel, you know, their mother and have compassion for their mother and what she's going through and everything too. So I usually ask in there, I say, what is your mother going to teach you? What are you hoping your mother will teach you? And they'll always have an answer. And what are you going to teach your mom? You know, we do that. And why did you choose this soul to be your mother? you know, and they always have the answer to that. So that's an amazing experience for people, you know. So even if you don't want to go to a past life, just have a hypnotherapist who can do this wound reduction. It's a beautiful experience.
Go ahead, Natasha.
No, go ahead, Kevin.
I was just going to ask you. Kayla has been told in the last 8-9 months that she has a certain amount of psychic gifts. Can you speak to that?
We all do. The part of life is how much do we trust ourselves? And that is the difference between being really intuitive. I'm going to call it intuitive instead of psychic. Okay. Not to say that you don't have psychic abilities, but I'm just going to make this blanket statement that we're all intuitive. We all have that knowing to do. We all have a part of us that knows what to do, that speaks up. Many of us, we choose not to listen. So we don't trust that part of us. Now there's others of us that have many psychic past lives, many psychic beings, and we're just made up that way. It's just who we are. And Kayla, you do. That's why you knew when to move into doing something and when not to, you know. But there's that part of you that didn't practice to trust that as well as you are starting to do now. And so you had more rocks in your path to trip over than not. Now, I'm going to tell you, being psychic doesn't necessarily take the rocks away and the trips away. But at the same time, though, it gives us the tools to work through them differently. Like this last week when I lost my glasses, and I do wear glasses during the day. I just didn't today because it was raining. It was real misty and I couldn't see. And I don't do them when I don't wear them when I'm doing intuitive work. It's that part of the vision that I knew it was about receiving a new vision for myself. So losing my glasses was about getting a new vision. So how did I navigate through that? So there's that bigger picture of why and how. When we go through grief, it's almost like pulling back the onion peel. Okay. Now, my dear, I can see you being a gypsy in a past life. And you're a palm reader.
I have a palmsery up. I want to learn it. That's why I got it, but I've never.
Yeah, because sometimes past lives, they connect with us to give us the tools. But like for me, I have a lot of Wiccan books. Mm-hmm. I don't practice Wiccan, but I light candles when I need certain things. I throw tobacco out in my yard to thank the fairies. Like when I cut down the trees, I went and put tobacco on the trees to say thank you and I'm sorry. You know, it's like I do certain things, but I don't necessarily practice it. But I have lots of books because that's my past life.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm at, collecting.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I love those tools because sometimes I need to go open up that book and look at that page. Yep. So I have my tools. Now, I'm not a reader necessarily in that way, but yet I do open up and have tools. So with that, we all have these. Now, I love to do past life work through doing like where we just kind of do a meditation. So I do a little bit what Regan does, but I do a meditation and I just have you walk through and then back into a part of you that knows where to guide you. And we find new guides, we find new stories for yourself. There's a lot that we can do. And that's the wonderful thing though, is there's many people to go to find what tools you want. And that's why I love being here with Regan, because he has his way, I have my way, and we just kind of get it. So with me, I have the intuitive guide. Like Regan, he's very intuitive. He just doesn't want to always admit it.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm working with him to get that part of him to believe in himself. Yeah. So with that as we work and as we walk, me doing a medium with doing a meditation with someone, I'm actually there with you, guiding you. So if you say, I don't see anything in a room, I'm in the room with you being a witness, you know, saying, oh, wait a minute. And I see something shiny over here. Turn around. Is there something shiny for you? And those clues just kind of whisper to you to wake up that part of you that's doubting. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, it's amazing where we can go and do work. And I love doing that kind of work.
So you can clear my blockage.
I can support you in you you clearing your blockage. I'm responsible for me. I can lead I can lead the horse to water, but it's up to you to do the work. And that's the way Regan probably feels too, is that you can only guide so far and then do that. But yes, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Now-
Regan, can you help her with that too, from your perspective, and clearing up blockages? And how would you go about that through hypnosis to do that?
Well, I just doing, I'm a tapper at EFT, which is just a regular form of regular therapy. I know for some people, I've been able to remove their blocks just by using that, because it has to do with some emotional blocks they have that they're carrying in their physical body here. So, for instance, I always wanted to write a book, but I never did, And finally, when I was in Mexico, I had nothing, for a year and a half and had nothing to do. I finally decided to tap on myself, and I really discovered what my roadblocks were. I did this physical tapping, and then I sat down, and in a year and a half, I wrote 4 books. I mean, I never written a book in my life because I removed the roadblocks. Now, as a writer, just to give you an idea, here's what I discovered. Okay, I wanted to be a writer, but my self-talk was, who's going to want to hear what I have to say? I mean, even if I write something, who am I to anybody wants to know what I have to say? Okay. The other big one was, Regan, you always start things and you never finish them. And you know how much work is in a book. So why start something that you're not even going to finish?
Oh, no, that was your mom talking there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but I've learned to finish things now, but so I would do, the tapping is like, even though I know I start things and I never finish things, what an idiot, Regan. Why the heck don't you do that? I know, even though I feel awful about myself because I never finish a damn thing, Well, you know what? I love and accept myself, even though I don't finish things sometimes, and then I would talk about, well, maybe I can step up to the plate. I'm open to the idea. It's just tapping, clearing your head of things. And all of a sudden I didn't have any blocks, and I just started writing and I didn't stop. The books weren't that great, but they were, for my 5th book is pretty good, because I had to go through that learning experience, So, it's just removing the blocks. So, but in hypnosis, what I do when I do the tapping with people, then I put them in hypnosis and I reinforce with the subconscious everything that we just went through, so it's like a 1-2 punch, to the issue.
Kayla, thank you for trusting me, by the way. Did your mom have a kind of a trauma when she was carrying you? Something, I don't want to call it like a car wreck, but just something that just shifted her. It was like a shock moment. And she may not even realize that it was this deep, but it was enough to put a lot of hormones through her at one time when she was carrying you.
Yes. Whoa. Yeah. Deep.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So with that, there was a moment where that hormone, you received it, which gave you a moment of, which in a way slows you down from going,
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So
Oh,
I would practice breathing out if I was you. Just practice that breathing out, and that will help shift that. And doing like what Regan was saying about the tapping will definitely help. But a lot of women don't realize that when they're carrying a child, like my dad died 6 weeks away from me having my first son, and I knew, okay, here's grief. I was very close to my dad. I mean, we finished each other's sentences. And I said, okay, I'm going to feel grief, but I can't wallow in it because I don't want I want my child to feel emotions, but I don't want him to be bombarded by all that emotion. And to this day, he's a kid that can navigate through, I'm just going to call it the shit. He goes, that was their problem, not mine. It's just that he just has a, oh, well, okay. He cares deeply. Don't get me wrong. But he doesn't take on what other people do. That's not his. You know, so with that, just know that you are free from that moment. You notice that I didn't use a negative word there? You are free, because a lot of people say you're not that moment. You're free and worthy of being away from that moment.
Thank you.
So, Kayla, do you recall your mom talking about an event before you were born?
I had a very traumatizing childhood, needless to say. I didn't really know my real father until I was about 21 or 22. So he wasn't really part of my life, but the things that happened when I was in her stomach, there were things that did escalate. You know, my sister was taken and put into foster care, big separations, and all this other kind of stuff. So you kind of hit deep on that.
Okay.
So are you still glad that you got to be part of this, or?
Well, of course I am. I'll get you later. No.
This is very much what I call the psychic car wash, where we just throw you in there, and then Regan has something to say, and Natasha, and then you're all clean and spiffy.
You know, and that's the thing that I love about life. When you bring something to an awareness, many times you have the ability to say, oh, now I know what to navigate with.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can go, oh, I can navigate now, it helps us move forward. Like for me, I just had a session with someone who said some things about when I was like a 10 or 11 about, and that was the time where I was actually thinking about killing myself. It was like, oh, no wonder I'm having that cloud over me. Okay, time to take that off. Let's go forward. So that's part of my work I was doing on the weekend, Kevin. So that's probably why I'm a little bit more on. I righted myself.
Kayla,
You did a great job. Go ahead, Regan.
Yeah, well, what Natasha was saying and everything, one of the things, even if you just do what I'm going to say mentally, it'll really work really good. So many times the things that happen to us as a child and everything, when that experience has happened, that CD gets logged in our mind. Mm-hmm. And so later on in life, when you think of that incident, it plays it, but it's playing it with the consciousness you had as a child still. So what people don't realize is that you have to upboot your software. You have to reboot and now update everything. And so what you do is you update everything to look at everything that happened to you with the knowledge and the wisdom that you have now, instead of looking at it as you did when you were a little child. And the people realize, they go, oh yeah, that's right. Because there was one client I had, everything, she's in her 60s now, but every time she gets together with Thanksgiving, she gets in a fight with her sister because she's still remembering about when her sister stole her best doll and tore it up when she was a little kid. And they start arguing, and people laugh at them. They say, you guys are arguing like you're two little kids, you know, and just that awareness or something. She's going, oh my God, here I'm a 60-year-old and I'm acting like a 6-year-old right now, you know. So when you reboot your software, and all of a sudden now, when you look back at your childhood things, or you get the higher perspective, like Natasha was giving you, then all of a sudden you understand things, and you just kind of put that away. Like, okay, I learned from that, but I don't need to be hanging on to any of that negativity of that experience anymore, because you're through with it. Mm-hmm. You know, you learned that lesson, you know.
And I would like to add that sometimes it's not the person that did to us. Sometimes it could be a boss that sounds the same way, or talks the same way, or a coworker who has the same smell, or they wear the same. Let's say they use the same perfume that somebody who triggered you. So it could be somebody just out of the blue that's doing this, that triggers those moments of, I'm going to call it shock value, or those moments of imprint, or whatever you want to call them, that triggers us back to our inner child, which we all have an inner child that walks with us every single day. That's why sometimes we drive by an ice cream shop and we go, I want an ice cream. Let's go stop and have, because our inner child goes, me, you know. Mm-hmm. But if we can just sit there and go, okay, you know, I understand. You know, like I had that someone who called up, and, you know, I took her back to when she was 9 years old, and I asked her to bring that 9-year-old child forward so that it could represent the time that she walked forward to her now time, so she can feel accomplished. And that's what I did with mine at that time when I was that session that woke me up to those moments exactly. And it was like, okay, time to bring her up to say, look who we are today. And it's not that quick. I actually wish I could have had more of a private session with this person to do this slower and more consciously, because I wanted to respect her. But yet at the same time, though, it just was what it was, and she needed the information.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Kev.
No, I was just going to say, but she's going to call you, and she's going to have a more in-depth reading. So go ahead, Regan.
Yeah, just talking about regular therapy as humans, what we do, and this is so common in relationships if I'm dealing with somebody, and it's like we get out of a relationship, we have some hurts and things that came from former relationships, former wives, spouses, lovers, whatever, and you get in a new relationship, and the new person says the same word or something that subconsciously a person, it reminds them of who they're in a relationship before, and they just give it to their new person, and the new person didn't even do anything, and I've heard people, like wives sometimes, yelling at their husband saying, "Don't treat me like your ex. I'm not her. When I said this certain thing, it didn't mean what she meant, because somehow they get triggered, by things. And so sometimes we, people can get abusive to the new people in a relationship by the triggers that happen, so they have to learn, this is a new person here, and you have to realize that.
You want to hear something wild?
Yeah.
I was married for 24 years. I got married in 1983 in May 21st of 1983. We divorced in 2007, and the divorce was final on May 21st. Kayla, what's your birthday?
May 21st.
My father and mother got married on June 10th of 1950. Kayla, that date is special to you as well, isn't it?
My dad's birthday.
All right, you two. You're the psychic ones.
I'm just going to call synchronicity. And when we're meant to be with someone, there's those points that say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That they're just points to just say yes. And this is going to be something when we have those points of yes, especially the key moments like that, especially the birthday. My dad stepped in quite a bit with me too. But, with those moments that we have, that those are those exclamation points that say this can make a difference in your life. It's up to us and our perception to get out what that is, but these moments can be poof if we allow them to be.
It's their way of calling attention to what's going on.
Synchronicity. You are in the right place at the right time, and we brought you together. It's like when I got the message to call up, and Regan was on the radio, and then we started talking for about a half an hour, 45 minutes, and then we ended up here. It's just magical how things happen, and sometimes for us humans to recognize this as a moment, they put synchronicity moments in, like a song on the radio, or birth dates, or just certain things to say, tag, get it.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about a little bit about the, through the Newton Institute and the research we've done now with over 65,000 people visiting the afterlife and coming back. We found that when you plan your life and you're just about ready to implement, to come down to be incarnated, you'll have sessions with some of the players that are going to be. And you're like rehearsing when you're going to meet in the lifetime and how you're going to recognize each other in the human body, And like I remember the one case where it was going to be his wife, and they were they were seeing the scene where they saw the scene where they were going to be at a dance. He was going to be on the other side of the room. And when she kind of was walking by him and flipped a scarf or something around her neck, that was going to be the sign that he would notice her for the first time and feel the connection, okay? And he said that's exactly what happened. That's how he met his wife, But what we found in the research is, because when people get down here in human form and with free will and all of the distractions and everything, a lot of times they'll walk right by and miss that. It's not always a perfect, we think, well, you decide it's in heaven, everything, you're going to meet exactly everybody you need to meet in this lifetime to get done what you want to get done. But it doesn't always work that way. And they get back to the other side and they go, oh, I blew it, man. You were right there and I missed you. And now I didn't get to have that experience, So, it's not always perfect. There's so many variations, and it all comes down to free will and the choices we make when we're down here. And things can go a little haywire, but it does explain why some people meet somebody and they immediately feel connected to them. You hear, thousands of stories written in novels and everything that, a guy meets a girl for the first time and he goes home and tells his mom, this is the woman I'm going to marry. And they get married and have, live happily ever after for forever, but it's kind of neat to know that there's a process that they go through in heaven, the afterlife, before they come down to try to make sure that things happen in the way they want so they can learn the lessons and meet the people that they have to meet. So that's interesting, little bit of research there.
And that's why people ask me, can you give me a timeline on this? And I go, okay, the timeline I'm being told is this. Now, remember, this is in human form, or this is spirit form telling you, human, that this is the timeline. So in between now and then, it's up to you. It's up to the people that you're working with. It's all up to the bigger picture here. You know, it's just amazing. But I wanted to point out, being the observer, I stand in observation. Kevin's wearing black. Kayla's purple and black. I'm purple and black.
Oh, yeah.
Regan's wearing purple and white, and I'm in a room that has white. It's like, so there's something synchronistic about this moment, that there's some magic, and I feel it. Actually, I feel it. And I checked, and there's not very many people watching today, but I feel this moment here is making a print somewhere in time, and it's magical.
Okay, what if I wear polka dots next week?
Not going there, sorry. I'm not a polka dot person.
I have polka dot boxers. Does that count? Just kidding.
Wow.
I have a question for the two of you. I've been talking with Kayla about it. What do you guys think? And anybody who is listening that you would like to tune in or chime in, you can hit the comment box. I'm toying with the idea on June 7th of going 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 4 p.m. What do you guys think?
I'm going to be golfing most of those times.
Well, you're not invited anyway, dude.
He has many different...
Yeah, I'm good with well, especially, because now that I'm on the board of the Newton Institute, we're having our first, I actually start, although I've already been starting for the last few months, but doing things. But starting, we're having a board meeting first part of June, and that's when I actually take over for 3 years. But I've been keeping so busy, probably spending an hour at least a day answering questions on Quora, about the afterlife, from 3 or 4 different sites. So it's keeping me kind of pretty busy. And I think I'm guiding people to at least, the website so they can find out more information, that sort of thing.
Oh.
So, and then, we're going to be doing this show and everything. So and I had 12 clients in the last 30 days. That's, that's
a big increase for you, isn't it?
Yeah, really. And I'm handling it okay. It's okay. And I've learned just so much in this last month. But again, Natasha, you can just see it's all synchronistic. It's like I just go at the right place.
It is.
At the right
no,
time.
I think that people watching you, Kevin, will enjoy having a routine to know when you're on.
Yeah. We're just like, anytime I'm driving, I always listen to Coast at night. If I'm driving at night, I always flip it there. I always count on it being there and there'll be something interesting. So it's just gonna be a matter of, Kevin, of you finding enough things of that's the thing, it's program content, that it just takes a lot of time to get, and that's where Kayla can kind of come in probably, to help and produce it. And now that if you have a partner doing that, you could probably do a whole week thing, but it's a lot of work, I know, Like I always thought, if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be a preacher, but just think of the pressure that a minister has every week, where he has to come up with some sort of new wrinkle, some sort of new way of saying the same thing week after week after week. I mean, wouldn't you think that as evolved human beings, we would just have to go to one sermon in our life and go, oh yeah, I got it. Okay. And then you go out and you just be this good person and everything. But we drag ourselves back week after week, hear the same message with little different tones to learn the same thing. That shows you how thick we are. Sometimes it takes to get through to us to really become good people. And remember, I told you about that one woman in hypnosis, and she was to learn patience in this lifetime. I said, well, how in Earth years, how long have you been learning patience? And she says 500. So I go, oh God, we're slow learners some ways.
Still working on it.
One thing
go ahead.
It's time for us to wrap it up, kids, because we've been doing it for over an hour. And Kayla, this is your first time out. What do you think of our little escapades that we put through here?
I love it. It's a learning experience, and I can't wait to continue learning. So I'm along for the ride with everyone else, and I'm excited. So
we're all learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are.
It really is great fun. And Natasha, how does somebody get a hold of you if you want to talk to them?
You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com, or Natasha at angelicclarifications is my email.
And you'll be on 4:00 on Wednesday.
I am.
And so if I do 3 hours, then I might run a couple of reruns before that and stuff, because I do have 300 episodes that I can run. Just real quick. Now I won't tell that story here. Regan, how does somebody get a hold of you?
It's on the screen there. Visit theafterlife.com. If you just go there, they have some great videos on there that kind of educate you on what I do. Basically help you get to a certain point of relaxation, which everybody can do basically. And from there, you have the ability yourself to visit a past life and actually visit the place you go between lives, where when you're there with a list of questions you have prepared, you can ask anything you want to these wise beings on the other side and really get the truth about God, religion, whatever you want to ask, you can get answers to. Life-changing for so many people, to put you on a path to where you're doing all the things you really want to be, which is more kind, compassionate, and patient. Okay, so just go to the website. You can actually see a whole session there. It's long and slow, but that's the way it is, because it's really takes a little bit of time. Sometimes sessions are 3-4 hours. So. But anyway, that's where you can get a hold of me. Visit the Afterlife. I'm happy to answer any questions. Have a free book on there right now. Actually, for a while, I'll be giving away both books. The 3 hours, 33 minutes in Heaven is about my time that I experienced there. And also Reincarnation is Real, which is about all the current research being done into, and there's a lot of it being done into past lives. All free.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for that. Free is a good price. Free is a good price. But Natasha, Kayla, Regan, it's been a pleasure having all of you here.
Thanks, Kevin. Nice to meet you and see you, Kayla.
She's going to be busier than she thinks she wants to be.
Yeah.
So
we all are.
Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week at 4:00 on Monday for Live Between Lives.
See you.
Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other, because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.